I keep on telling clients, organize your papers, make a list. How much did you spend on advertising? How much you spend on telephone, cable, internet? How much you spend on meals, business meals, and travel? You got to make a list up and take the time and write down how much you're spending per category. If you just give me a whole whopping box full of receipts, well, I'll do it, but paying a lot more money. People don't realize waiting to the last minute is the absolute worst thing to do. If you're getting money back, you want to know early on because some look forward to. And you want to have the taxes prepared early on so you're not letting them hold your money. If you owe money, depending on how much you owe, but even if you owe not that much, if you wait till the very end and it doesn't get done by the due date, they will charge penalties and interest. Why give them more money than you already have to give them?
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Good day and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. Today's guest is Alan Rosenbaum, an income tax and accounting professional with an impressive 47 years of experience. Alan specializes in personal, corporate, fiduciary, and estate taxes, as well as sales and payroll tax preparation and business incorporations. Over nearly 5 decades, he has built a reputation for combining years of expertise with genuine care for his clients, a philosophy captured perfectly in his motto, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." He's been helping people pay less taxes for 47 years, and today we'll explore not only his business journey, but also his insights on what's changing this tax season and how bookkeepers and tax professionals can work hand in hand to support small businesses. Welcome, Alan. How are you doing?
Okay, thank you for having me today.
Yes, and thanks for taking the time. I know you're fresh off busy season when it comes to the tax extensions.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you could be resting, but instead you're here with us.
Well, I'm always, my eyes are always open to talk and to help people.
Awesome. So we are going to start with a rapid fire segment. We have some questions and we hope to get quick responses to get to know you better. So we will start with this one. Can you give us one word to describe you as a child and one word to describe yourself now? So basically we're looking for 2 words, one when you were a child and one for now.
Even as a child, I would say, meticulous in the way I did things. I guess now I would say I'm driven to perfection because being a Virgo, we always strive for perfection, just the nature. If you believe in horoscopes, that Virgos are very much perfectionist type of people.
And I can see how that ties very nicely with tax work.
Yes, it does. It really does.
Yes. So can you give us one book or movie that you'd recommend?
The book I recommend is The 12-Week Year. It's a very interesting book. I've read it twice. I'm about ready to read it a third time. It talks about how if you organize yourself properly, you can get more done in 12 weeks than most people get done in 12 months. It's very systematic process. And for those who are focused and diligent and driven, this is the type of book that helps me keep in line and keeping my ability to get things done, not putting anything off, so to speak.
I can see how that can help many of us. And I heard the word systems there. So that really piqued my interest. And let's see, a fun fact about you that most people do not know.
Well, a fun fact, I would say I like to make jokes. I like to keep people light in the sense because of what I do. It's not an enjoyable thing for most people doing taxes. So I try to keep it light and make some jokes and have a light conversation. So the idea is to make the client feel comfortable.
That is always good. And if you could work from anywhere in the world, where would that be and why?
Well, I'd like to be in one of the islands, whether it's I don't know, Aruba, Paradise Island, or Jamaica, Bermuda. I love the warm weather, the summer weather, the beautiful beaches, sunny skies. It would make it very much more uplifting.
Okay. Oh, I can attest to that. And I would like to add St. Lucia in there. Any of the Caribbean islands
No,
are
that's
great.
another one. That's another one. I just thought of a few, but that's enough.
Yes, of course, of course. We're going to move now to the begin segment. And here we'd like to just learn a little bit about your business and the services that you offer.
So I do income taxes both on a corporate and personal level. I do business incorporation filings for people who want to incorporate their business. I do tax resolution services for people who unfortunately owe back taxes and the government is knocking on their door, so to speak. I do a reduction in student loan interest, help people reduce their student loan debt, reduce their credit card debt. I do investment advising, so I help people plan properly for investment purposes. Because if you could save money on taxes, well, maybe you can invest that money into a long-term retirement plan or a short-term plan if your goal is to purchase a house in the next 5 to 7 years. And basically, it's all financial, obviously. So pretty much anything with the word tax in it, I do. Sales tax, payroll tax, fiduciary, estate tax, anything that has tax work involved, I do.
Okay. And how did you get started?
Well, back in 1978, I graduated college, and at that point, I was living in Corp City in the Bronx. I started advertising my services. They had local papers there, and it worked out real well. Word of mouth helped. It still helps today, obviously, 47 years later. And then I went to people's homes to do their taxes. I went to their apartments, Corp City being a very big industrial development with a lot of buildings. There's over 60,000 people living there. And I went to their homes and brought, back then in the late 70s, early 80s, I brought tax forms with me, the tax book to calculate the tax withholding. Everything was done by hand back then. Carbon paper, something nobody really uses anymore. And from that standpoint, people were satisfied. They were happy. I provided in-home service. And throughout time, people recommended me other people that they knew. And then they recommended other people. And it just grew exponentially. And before you know it, it blossomed.
Great. I love to hear that. I love how you basically you were out there meeting people, getting the work done, and you really just provided the services that people wanted, and your business has grown from that. And what does growth look like for you? Let's just transition nicely to building. What is the biggest difference you would say now compared to when you first started?
Well, people's mindset was a lot different 40 plus years ago than it is now. COVID obviously had something to do with it. in the more recent 5, 6 years. But then people took this seriously and really interested in doing the right thing when it come to taxes. I've seen over the last maybe 10, 15 years that people have become lethargic. They know what they need to do, they just don't do it. Maybe it's because the world over the last 15, 20 years have become much more hectic. People don't have time to do what they need to do. People are stressed, which most people are, and between their home life, their work life, and everything else. And people just have taken a totally different approach to things over the last 15 to 20 years. And it's like, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. But the government says, no, you won't, because if you do, you're going to pay penalties and interest. And if you wait long enough to file, the government will file a return for you based on the information they have available, based on what's sent into them by your employer, by your investment companies, or wherever you've accumulated income. You won't get the benefit of deductions because they don't know what type of deductions you have, which means if they prepare a return, it's not going to look good and it's not going to be in your best interest.
I'm really taking that in because the world probably, I don't know what it was like all those years ago, but I could say from my experience, even it's changed a lot. And when you said stress, that's very relatable because so much is happening in life right now. It's a matter of trying to prioritize what to use the limited time that we have to do. And of course, taxes are important, but I can see how it can be delayed until the very last minute. And I suppose that can be very difficult for you as a tax professional.
It's extremely difficult because come around the first 2 weeks in April, I have pretty much virtually a lot of people knocking on my door. And I said, look, there's 10 days left of tax season come April 5th. And this is so much I can do. I'm one person. And people don't realize waiting to the last minute is the absolute worst thing to do. If you're getting money back, you want to know early on because something to look forward to. And you want to have the taxes prepared early on so you're not letting them hold your money. If you owe money, depending on how much you owe, but even if you owe not that much, if you wait till the very end and it doesn't get done by the due date, they will charge penalties and interest. Why give them more money than you already have to give them? And if you owe enough money, say in the thousands, the sooner you know, the longer you have to prepare for it and figure out how you're going to come up with that money. If it's April 11th and you owe $3,895, well, how are you coming up with almost $3,900 in 4 days? Most people can't do that.
Okay. I think that your client base probably includes persons who have jobs and others who are small business owners. So for those who are small business owners, what approach do you take? Or when it comes to working with bookkeepers, for instance, I could see how if they already have their books ready, it probably makes it easier for you as a tax preparer. So can you maybe just touch on that a little bit? And for full transparency, I am an accountant, so I do prepare books that my clients use to take to tax preparers.
The best client is the one that provides me with the information, whether they provide it to me on Excel spreadsheets, whether they use other forms of bookkeeping / record keeping. If you provide me the numbers, it's a lot easier on both our parts. And it's less expensive to you for me to charge you for the tax work that I do. If you start handing me receipts and things that I have to start adding up and calculating and everything, I'll do it, but I'm charging more money for it, obviously. Because in our line of work, as you know, time is money. So the more time you spend, the more it's going to cost. So I keep on telling clients, organize your papers. Make a list. How much did you spend on advertising? How much you spend on telephone, cable, internet? How much you spend on meals, business meals, and travel? You got to make a list up and take the time and write down how much you're spending per category. If you just give me a whole whopping box full of receipts, well, I'll do it, but I'm paying a lot more money.
Okay, so if they bring you a box of receipts, you have to basically do the bookkeeping part to get those numbers together, and then you can file the tax return. So, can you tell me maybe more about some collaborations you've had with bookkeepers, or is that just something you do anyway? You just do the bookkeeping side.
I prefer to stay away from that because my time is not well spent doing bookkeeping, doing that type of detailed analysis. And that's why I'm glad we met when we did, because I know you do that specifically. And I rather source it to you, and then you provide me with spreadsheets or QuickBooks or whatever you use in order for me to take the information, put it in the tax program, and do the tax return. It's not an efficient form of time for me to have to do this detail work, because from mid-January to mid-April, I should be spending 99.9% of my waking life doing tax returns, not bookkeeping, because then I can't get to all these tax returns that I have to get to.
And I'm really glad we touched on that, because I think it gives people an idea of, the different aspects that you do have to do one thing done before you can get the other done. So I would like us to talk a little bit about the tax side of things. But before we do that, I just wanted, when it comes to your business, I just wanted to know a little bit more there. Can you tell a little bit more about the learning curves that you had to deal with when you started the business?
Well, every year there really is a learning curve, even this far into my career, because every year, as you know, the laws change. Some years it's not that much, other years it's quite a bit. This year in particular, it's quite a bit. A lot of things have changed with what's called the Big Beautiful Bill. A lot of things are positive, though. I haven't seen a year like this in quite a number of years where there is a lot of positive changes. Of course, there are negative changes too. But the learning curve initially was in understanding the tax software when I first started using it, because I wasn't always using software from the beginning, and learning how the software works, which is integral in being able to prepare tax returns. Of course, I've been using the software now for tons of years, so I can probably do a tax return now in my sleep. Of course, I can't, but I know the program so well, I could probably do it one eye open and one eye closed. The point is, the learning curve, of course, is not anywhere as steep as it was initially, but because you have to learn new laws every year, I'm going to tax conferences in November and December coming up to know explicitly of all the changes that are going to take place, although I already know of a lot of changes that will take place for 2025.
Yes. So now let's dig a little deeper into that. Those tax changes, as you mentioned, it's one of the biggest overhaul that you've probably experienced. So for me, this is very new. So it's good to have persons like yourself who have experience in what has been done before, and who's also learning of all the new changes. So let's look at that a little bit. What are some of those changes you would like to highlight?
Well, let's start with SALT, SALT, state and local taxes. Starting in 2025, a person can take off up to $40,000 in real estate taxes, and state and local income taxes they pay from their W-2. It's been $10,000 since 2018. Now for 2025 through 2028, as it stands right now, you can take up to $40,000. That's a huge difference. It's going to make a big difference whether people can itemize or they can't, which in the past they haven't been able to itemize because 10,000 is not enough to itemize in most cases. In addition to which, charitable deductions. There's going to be the ability to take some charitable write-offs even if you don't itemize your deductions. That hasn't happened up until now. So you'll be able to write off some charities, cash charities, not non-cash. Okay, just cash. You will have to get a receipt from the organization, whether it's the church or any other organization like St. Jude's, ASPCA, whatever, showing that this is what you gave them in the course of the year, because receipts other than that are not good enough anymore. That's what they want. So that's on charities. You also have other things with depreciation. Now, depreciation works if you're running a self-employed business and you're depreciating assets like furniture and fixtures, machinery and equipment, things like that. The depreciation allowance is now 100%. So if you bought, say, 2 desks, a chair, a table, and put down carpeting, and all that came down to $4,000, you can do a one-time bonus depreciation and deduct all of it in 1 year. It's still depreciation, but you're taking it all as 1 year write-off, as opposed to writing it off over many years going forward. The decision on whether to do that is based on what I see the tax return looking like. So if a person's going to owe a reasonable amount of money, you probably want to take this all in 1 year to cut down on the amount of money you're going to owe, or maybe turn the return from owing money to getting some money back. If I see that this big write-off is not going to help you that much because you're already getting a decent refund, then let's depreciate it over X number of years, depending on what type of asset it is, and you'll get write-offs going forward for 5 years, 7 years. If you rent property and you purchase a house, that house can be written off over 27 and a half years. So you'll get a tax deduction for 27 and a half years. That's a nice amount of time for something like that. Beyond that, with other deductions, the mortgage interest is still fully deductible. If you have a second home, that mortgage interest is deductible. Okay. When you're dealing with selling of securities, if you sell stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, depending on whether it's long-term or short-term, you get taxed at a lower level on a long-term basis, which is a year or longer, or you get taxed more on a short-term basis, which is less than 1 year if you sell securities. Okay, so that's an important feature as well. And there are different things, tip income. So if you're in the industry, like a waiter, a waitress, a bartender, as an example, who gets tips, tip income will be excluded up to $12,500. That never happened before. So you get a deduction on your tip income. You get to not have to pay taxes on that. Okay, so that's very helpful. There are deductions also for if you're a teacher, administrator, as an example. You get a specific write-off that reduces your taxable income, but only specific to that industry. Okay, so that helps. The child care credit is going up. So if you have a child that's under 17 years of age, you can take a $2,000 child tax credit on your tax return, but you can also get a child care credit as well, depending on how much you pay out in child care costs. Okay, and the percentage that you can get has raised, so you can get a bigger child care credit than you were getting in the past. For those people age 65 and older, there's going to be something now called a senior deduction, meaning that you can take off a write-off of $6,000 on your tax return, reduce your income by $6,000 with this senior deduction, but you have to be between 65 and over to qualify. Okay? In addition to which, Trump is coming out with a Trump account. A Trump account that if a child has been born this year in 2025, or a child will be born in 26, 7, or 8, as it stands now, the government will give the parents a $1,000 amount that will be invested in a long-term investment account for the child for college many years from now, as an example, and it will allow the parents or the grandparents or any other relative, if they so choose, to invest up to $5,000 a year in the child's Trump account. That's why it's called a Trump account. That's brand new. That's never been happening before. So that's a good start for a newborn child. So that's another positive addition. What's not a positive addition is that if, God forbid, somebody has a casualty loss, it has to be in a federally declared disaster area. So the California wildfires would cover, tornadoes would cover, bad hurricanes would cover in different parts of the country. But if you live in an area that's not a federally declared disaster area, and God forbid you had a flood, and a lot of things got ruined, you can't take it off as casualty loss. God forbid somebody has a fire and the house burns down. You can't take it off. You used to be able to take it off. You can't. It's not in a federally declared disaster area. So that's not obviously positive at all. And there are, bits and pieces of a lot of other things going on. And but as I go to these conferences in November and December, I'll be able to get even more of a feel for the latest and greatest information that's currently taking place for 2025.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Yeah, that's a lot of things that you mentioned. We talked about itemizing, standard deduction, the changes when it comes to charitable deductions. I mean, you mentioned depreciation allowance, things to do with tip income. I heard college investment. Those are a lot of things to consider. So I could see how working with a tax professional is the way to go, because being able to handle all of this yourself, for me, it's difficult, and I am in the profession. So I'm glad that there are people like you who are able to assist. When it comes to small business owners specifically, are there other parts of the bill that you would like to highlight?
Well, for small businesses, what has become even better than what it used to be is if you're a one-member LLC, a limited liability corporation, and you're the only owner of the business, you're a one-member LLC. By that, you file Schedule C on your 1040 tax return. You're considered a sole proprietor. You don't get the tax benefits of business incorporation. You're better off with an S Corp, a C Corp, or a partnership if you have a partner, or more than one. Because with the S Corp, which is a pass-through entity, which means the profit or loss of your S Corp flows down to your personal return, the net profit or loss, but you get to pay taxes not on 100% of your profit, but 80% of your profit. That's a savings of 20% if you have a profit. If you have a C Corp, your tax rates, which were once 35%, have dropped to 21%. So now, with the C Corp tax rates lowering to 21%, people find that their personal tax rates, in some cases, are higher than their corporate tax rates. The biggest difference, though, is when you're a sole proprietor and you're a one-member LLC, you have to pay self-employment tax on your profit. That is 15.3% of your profit. That's a huge tax that gets added to your personal taxes, your regular ordinary income tax. You can avoid all of it by incorporating. And I've been doing that for clients over many years, doing the incorporation filing So they become S corps, C corps, or partnerships. Why pay self-employment tax? You don't have to do that, and you get benefits of a lower tax bracket with the C corp, and you get benefits with being taxed lower on your profit if you have a profit on the S corp. Okay, so incorporation has been the right way to go. Now, what I suggest to clients is if you're just starting out and you're not sure how long you're going to be in business for, or if this is really going to work, don't do it right away. See how this works. See how this is going to play out. Simply because if you're in there 2 years and you see it not working out, if you incorporated already, you have to dissolve the business. That's going to cost some money. Whereby if you're just a one-member LLC and you're sole proprietor, you just stop it. You don't have to worry about dissolving, paying costs to dissolve to the government, as well as paying my fees to do the work to dissolve it. So you got to be sure this is what you want to do.
It sounds like not paying self-employment taxes is a motivator to go towards C Corp or S Corp. But I'm thinking there are other factors that need to be considered. For instance, there is more admin burden. If you're a C Corp, an S Corp, you may or may not be eligible. So I'm guessing it's something that needs to be discussed further with a tax professional like yourself, if persons are considering that.
Well, yeah, I mean, depending on a person's situation, I go deeper into the conversation because no two people are alike. That's why when I do speaking engagements and webinars and whatever else, I can only talk in general terms because I'm talking to a group of people. But when I meet with people on a one-to-one basis, I focus in on them and what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and what they have to do to make it work for them.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about what should business owners be doing now? At the time of recording, we're in October. We have November and we have December to get through when it comes to 2025. So what are some things that they can be doing now to prepare, especially with tax season starting in a few months?
Well, I'm doing tax consultations. I've been doing it since September, and I'll be doing it through the rest of the year. I'm meeting with clients or even people who are not clients yet and hopefully might be clients, and I analyze their 2024 tax return, see exactly what it looks like, see whether they got a refund, see whether they owed, see whether their withholding is where it needs to be at this stage of the year, or whether it's not where it needs to be. I then filter in the tax law changes to see what applies to the individual. Not everything is going to apply, obviously. So I've been doing this for clients, like I said, since September. We'll continue to do this. And by doing this, what should I say, financial health checkup, if I want to call it such, I will put somebody in the best possible position. So when it comes time to doing the tax return in 2026 for 2025, there'll be no shocks. There'll be no surprises. They'll know exactly what they're looking at now. And if things need to change, they can be changed now. But if they wait until they see me during February, March, April of 26, I can't do anything because the year is over with. They're stuck. So the idea now, with the last 3 months of the year at hand, is to see where you are, see what adjustments need to be made, and make the adjustments before the year is over so you don't get blown out of the water when the tax return is done and I tell you the final results. And then on top of that, you may even be paying estimated tax penalties and interest because you didn't pay enough into the system throughout the year. Why would anybody want to do that?
So it's very critical at this point to take a look at what you've been doing, seeing if you need your accounting to be brought up to date. As an accountant, I always advise people, don't wait until the last minute. But if you have not done it yet, it's not too late. You can contact somebody now to get your accounting up to date, whether it be via spreadsheets or a software like QuickBooks, and to also be talking to your tax professional to advise you to see where you're at. Like you said, your a financial health check. See if there are things that you could do before December 31st, or at least that cutoff point is December 31st. Anything that you can do by then to change your situation. Because like you mentioned, once the year has ended and the new year has started, there are not that many changes that you can make. So it's very important to take those steps now. Is there anything else you want to add on the tax front before we move on to the Blossom segment?
Not really. I mean, I could probably talk for 3.5 hours on stuff, but we don't have that kind of time. I think we delved into a lot of tax changes so far, of which I'll get more clarification as November and December come up. But I think I highlighted some of the biggest law changes that people need to be aware of.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to your business. Talk about what blossoming looks like for you. So you've been doing this for 47 years now. What would you say is one of the most rewarding parts of what you do?
Rewarding things is building relationships over so many years. A lot of my clients look at our gatherings every year when we meet to do the tax returns as like a family gathering. It's like an annual tradition, just like you get together with family for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Okay. People actually when they tell people that they're looking forward to going to get their taxes done. People look at them like, what? You're looking forward to getting your taxes done? Are you crazy? Well, the thing is, because I've built such good relationships over the years, it's like we catch up on everything. I talk about their families, their children, their grandchildren, whatever. And it's a very enjoyable conversation to have, because building relationships for so many years is really priceless. If you go to a commercialized tax preparation firm like H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, Liberty Tax, you probably don't see the same person twice. You're treated like a social security number, and there's no connection. There's no bonding that you have with a private tax preparer like myself. So I have been invited over the years to weddings, communions, bar mitzvahs, but unfortunately, I also have been asked to attend many funerals over the years too, and in some cases speak at the funerals about how well I knew the person and what my relationship was with them. That's really a tough part of my business, having to do that. But building the relationships with people is the most rewarding part of all these years.
I love that. And I could even see that for myself, being new in business. That for me, it's also one of the most rewarding parts. For instance, meeting you as two business owners and just getting to know you better, meeting people within our own networks. Just recently, we found out that we knew one person in common because we did a training together, a workshop, and the third person, we both knew that person but didn't know that there was that connection. So just things like that. The more you keep building relationships, and you get to know people, and it's just beautiful. So thanks for sharing that.
No, my pleasure.
Okay, and can you tell us now, maybe just one piece of advice you'd pass along to someone who's probably looking to do the same kind of work that you're doing, or just to go into business in general?
Going in business or doing this type of work, you have to be committed. You really have to be committed to what you're doing. In this line of work, as you know, from like mid-January to mid-April, which is about 90 days, you're giving your life up for 90 days of the year, which is like 25% a year. You really can't do much of anything else, because if you're going to be successful in this work, you have to spend, I'd say, 90% of your waking life between January 15th and April 15th doing tax returns. I mean, short of coming home, taking a shower, going to sleep, and waking up and doing it again the next day, there really isn't much time to do much of anything else. If you have a good tax practice or business, You have to be that committed to it. If you're not committed to it like that, you're not going to succeed. So you have to think very hard how much you're willing to put into this, how much you're willing to devote, how much you're willing to allow yourself to put aside what you can't do and deal with it after April 15th. And in order to be successful, you really have to have the mindset, the drive, the determination to really realize that for 90 days of the year, for the most part, you're engulfed in tax preparation. Or in any business you do, although some businesses are all year round, so you're not as heavily inundated like the tax preparer is. Because while I do this all year round, it's heavily concentrated between January through April 15th.
Okay. So for people who are looking for your services, as we move to the closeout segment, maybe you can tell us how we can reach you.
Well, I can be reached in a few different directions. My phone number, there's two phone numbers. One is 914-582-9875. That's my cell number. The second number is my office landline, 718-829-2400, extension 105. So those are the ways I can be reached there. My email address is A as in Apple, L as in Larry, R as in Robert, tax, T-A-X, the number 4, the letter U as in umbrella, at gmail.com. So that's the other way of connecting with me. Of course, with the cell number that I just mentioned, the 914 area code, I can be texted that number and receive information that way. I can also be faxed. I have a fax number, 718-228-4458. That's the fax number. So I want to fax me, I can get faxes. So that's the mode of communication that works best.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I really enjoyed learning so much about your business and also learning so much about the new tax changes. That is very, very valuable. So thanks for that. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I look forward to having you on the podcast again. And we will make sure to include the information that you shared in the show notes so persons are able to reach out to you. Again, thank you.
I enjoyed this as well. Really did enjoy it. I love to provide knowledge to people. I'm in the helping people business. And this is what I do. And the more people I help, the better I feel.
Yes, and I'm sure you've helped at least one person who's listening right now. So thank you for that.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, until next time.
A quick note before we wrap up. The insights and experiences shared by our guests are their own. We love creating space for real conversations about business and growth, and everyone's journey is unique. Therefore, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. It is not meant to replace legal, financial, or other professional advice. So we encourage you to take what's useful, do your own due diligence, and build what works best for you.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and the inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.